My next guest says her addictions were shameful, lonely, and isolating. But sex and pornography addiction is an issue few people discuss openly, and even fewer women talk about it. Even though research has found 10% of men and 7% of women say they have significant levels of stress and dysfunction because of their sexual thoughts or behaviors. Erica Garza is one of the few women speaking up publicly about this addiction.
My name is Erica Garza, and I'm a recovered sex and pornography addict. I was raised in a Mexican American Catholic household in a very safe, loving environment. I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 12, and I had to wear a back brace to try to correct the spine. I became really disgusted with myself, paranoid that people would see the brace. I turned inward. I became quite isolated. I started to use masturbation as a coping mechanism. I started to watch porn. I would be watching for hours at a time. When I entered college, my priority was meeting a guy to have sex with. Any opportunity that I could have sex, I would try to take it. It felt like those two things went together and they helped fill the space that was empty. I felt like I was leading a double life, and that was quite lonely and isolating. I saw my 30th birthday coming up, and I didn't want that decade to be just like the ones before it. And I felt like something had to change.
Fan, please welcome Erica Garza to the show. Erica, thank you so much for joining us. What a journey.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's almost a decade ago you acknowledged this addiction. We know the taboo surrounding sex and pornography, even more so with women. Over the years since you revealed it, do you believe that people have become more open to the conversation? Have you seen a change since you first made your truth public?
I do think that people are talking about it more. But when I wrote the book, it was still a really novel concept. And I think people jump to a lot of conclusions about women when they hear that they're addicted to sex. They think, they must have been sexually abused when they were younger or suffered some kind of sexual trauma. Whereas if a man is addicted or if a man just watches a lot of porn, it all just seems kind of normal and expected. And I really wanted to speak up on behalf of women because it would have really helped me when I was going through recovery, and it would have helped me when I was younger, just to hear another story that sounded like mine. So I really wanted to try and speak up for other people who are still too afraid.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been in this business for 30 years, a journalist for 30 years. And even now, the dialogue and conversation behind sex addiction or pornography addiction, it's seen still through the lens of men and now young pre-puberty boys, right? You hear a lot of dialogue about boys being addicted to pornography and boys on, certain sites looking at it. Still, I feel from my view, you never really hear about women.
Yeah, and when I wrote my book and, started to go public about my experiences, I received so much mail from women and young girls as well, teenagers who were, watching a lot of porn, feeling bad about watching porn, having a lot of sex because they had seen certain scenes in the porn and having sex that they didn't really feel comfortable with, and just living with all of those secrets alone and not feeling like they could speak up about it. And they just were so grateful to hear another person speaking about it because it helped them feel like, okay, this is not just something that's wrong with me. Other people are going through this. And if they know that other people are going through this, then they're more likely to get help.
Erica, I'm curious, as we talk more about technology, social media in particular, and its role in the forming of young minds and the forming of even addictions, when you look at social media now and its impact on our conversation about sexual addiction or addiction to pornography, has it helped or hurt?
I think it's helped. I think a lot of people feel safer on social media to come forward and say things that they wouldn't say in everyday conversation. I think because you have that sort of distance with the screen in front of you. So I do think it can help. Of course, social media and the internet itself can also be destructive if you use it in the wrong way. My addiction developed from something that was quite mild, and it developed slowly over time. But I think about kids now having access to hardcore porn straight away. That's the first thing they see. And I I can't imagine what that will escalate to, because it escalated to something dangerous for me, starting from such a mild point.
Wow.
Where does it get to with young kids today? And I think they pick up all sorts of ideas from porn that aren't necessarily true. And if they have a childhood like mine where nobody ever talked to me about sex, then that's the only message they're getting about sex. And it's absolutely inaccurate. And I think we just need to be having these conversations to clear things up, as uncomfortable as those conversations
As uncomfortable
can be.
as they are. Well, you've been having the conversation for a long time, and I know you will continue to talk about something that I still believe very few people want to openly acknowledge exists. So, Erica, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.